Boom. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Siren podcast. I've got an awesome show for you tonight. My guest is Legion and the Thieves. They are a heavy black metal, just hardcore in your face, badass rock band based out of Florida. So we talk about their band and their recent release, which has just been released, that you can find on all major streaming platforms. Please go and check it out. As soon as the show's over, go over there, add it to your playlist or whatever platform you use, and ride around jamming it for a few days. It is badass. Make sure and check it out. So let's just get right into the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Legion and the Thieves. All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by again to the Siren podcast. Tonight, I have on Legion and the Thieves. It's a duo, heavy as fuck rock. What do you call it? What's your genre?
That
Metal? Heavy metal?
Well, progressive metal. Transcendent progressive metal.
Transcendent progressive metal. Awesome. Peter, you've been on. It's good to have you back on the show again. Peter was also the frontman of one of my all-time favorite bands, Dearest Azazel. So it's always good to talk with him. And I've not met you, John, but it is nice to meet you.
What's up, man? Meet you.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on the show, guys. It's really awesome. I have been listening to the new album, and Peter, your guitar work on that album is fantastic. It is ridiculous. I was listening to it, and then like this solo came on. I was like, and I was like, holy fuck, man, that shit's good. It's good. The whole thing's good. It's all good. The original one I listened to, I think, was more. I didn't listen to the whole old album, What do we call it? Your first album.
First one, yeah.
And this one had like I listened to some of it, and it seemed more metal than this one. Unless I'm like, this one had more extra parts.
A different kind of it. The first one, Bedlam, is completely different from this one. Like, Bedlam the songs were longer. Me and Peter, as long as we've known each other, we've always kind of had a common ground on like our love for black metal.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of influence of that on that first record, where there is very little of it on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's probably the biggest difference there. And then the songs are shorter on this record as opposed to Bedlam, where we had, like 6-minute songs, or maybe longer.
The Tool 18-minute song with I'm sorry.
Nothing happened for like 10 minutes of it.
I assumed that Peter was playing guitars. I'm not sure who plays what. Do you?
I do. I write a majority of the lyrics, and I do all the screaming vocals.
Okay.
And Peter does the clean vocals and the guitars and bass. And on this record, Through Painted Skies, my friend Mike Turpin, who was my band member of mine in the band Rainey's Revenge, he played drums on the record.
Okay. That's cool. So, if y'all play live, y'all just get him, or what do y'all do for live, or do y'all not a live band?
We have not done it live yet. It's not, we sort of like tossed around the idea, but it has not come to fruition. Like, right now I live in Fort Lauderdale, and John lives in Pensacola, so we'd have to really arrange some serious logistics. And it'd be hard to find the right bassist and guitar player, I gotta say. And,
it's certainly not it's certainly not something we're like 110% opposed to. It'd just be very difficult to make work right now. Right now anybody's having a hard time playing live because of COVID-19 and all of its glory and bliss. But we're not opposed to it. It's like I said, it'll just be hard to make it work. But to answer your question, if we were to play a show live, Mike would do it. For sure.
Yeah.
Like, going. There's some in Pensacola alone. There's actually a lot of decent musicians out here now. Like, I have people stored away in my head that I would probably ask if we tried to do this live or whatever. But again, like it's it'd be very hard to pull it off, and it almost guaranteeingly won't happen until probably at least a year from now, if ever.
Yeah. With I'm in Mississippi, which is like the COVID. There's one other state, maybe it's Florida, no, or New York or something. It's like Florida and Mississippi are like the worst, like ones on the rise, and they are having shows here now. I actually played a show at a bar, like I played the keyboards with a band. And they're still doing shows. Like I'm sure this Friday night there's a bar. Like all the bars in Hattiesburg have bands playing.
Were you masked up?
What? No,
Sorry.
nobody had masks on or anything. And I mean, this was like 3 weeks ago, so I mean, I assume I didn't get it.
It's funny that you say that because on this album, Through Painted Skies, on track 3, I believe it is, Seasons in the Sun. We had guest vocals by a friend of mine named Chelsea Strickland, who is the singer of a death metal band here in Pensacola called Accursed Creator. But she just recently started playing with another band too called Sidious Deceit, I think they're called, and they played a show recently in somewhere in Mississippi. And my friend Michaela was actually like shooting it live or whatever. It was like a whole bunch of like hideously brutal death metal bands. But like I mean. But yeah, I was kind of shocked to see like footage from the show happening. I'm like, wow, they're actually playing shows like
I'm telling you,
in places like this in Mississippi. I'm so jealous. Like,
Mississippi is just like they're like, you know what? We're tired of dealing with this virus. It's over. It's not real anymore.
Yeah.
It's not here. It's not happening. And everybody was just like,
Pensacola, Florida's not much different, man. Like once we opened the beach, we just said fucking
they're just like,
went out.
yeah. They're like, if you go to a store, put a mask on, but if you go to a bar, whatever. The alcohol kills all of the coronavirus.
Alcohol and death metal vocals.
That's what it is.
Well, that's why I've tried to make sure to drink as much as humanly possible every night. During I'm kidding. Like, totally joking.
No, you're not.
Just sometimes. Yesterday was one of them. We all went and watched. Me and some friends of mine watched the Tampa Bay Lightning game or whatever. It was just so nice to finally have like a piece of normality back. Like,
yeah,
he's on TV. There's a bar open where I can go watch it at. Like,
yeah,
almost like things are normal again.
it was weird getting out and being around people again because really the only people besides like work people and my family that I've seen were like this on my show. Like over, like I'm staring at an iPad screen right now. So it was weird seeing people in person. It was good though.
Nice.
It kind of made me be like, yeah, let's get this over with.
I work at a restaurant on Pensacola Beach, so I see him pretty often. And I get to see cover bands every day. Playing Brown Eyed Girl and Amber by 311. But like,
and
that's about all the live music I get right now. Like,
keep your hands to yourself, right?
Do they wear a mask when they do the 311 cover?
No, they don't. We have to wear a mask, but the band don't. We have to wear a mask. Bands don't.
That's weird.
Seems like it should be backwards, especially when you're playing a 311 cover.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, so you guys have been playing for 15 years, and you have 2 albums. What's the story on Legion and the Thieves? Let's start with the name Legion and the Thieves.
First and foremost, we haven't actually been a band 15 years. That was Peter being a smartass. But from earlier, technically, it started in 2008. During that time, when Peter was still playing in Dearest Azazel, and I had just joined a band called Baroness Daughter, which for me was like probably the most like non-metal thing I ever did. It was kind of more like in the spectrum of like Under Oath, Norma Jean kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And me and Peter was living in Atlanta at the time. Me and him, somehow the idea just came up of him writing some black metal songs or death metal songs or whatever you want to call it. and me doing the vocals on it. And lo and behold, he did it. It was kind of just like basically like a Behemoth like kind of thing, I guess. And
yeah, pretty much ripping off Behemoth as much as humanly possible, like the most insane drums. Quadruple layered vocals.
Yeah. I drove up to Atlanta and I recorded the vocals. Ironically, while I was there, recording that EP, we saw Behemoth at the Tabernacle with Lamb of God. And
parked right in front of the protesters.
Yeah, right in front. Yeah, we did. And but yeah, I went up there and we recorded the record, the EP, and we released it solely on MySpace. And we decided to go with the name Legion and the Thieves. Which for that, I'll let Peter. Yeah, Peter. I'll let him.
MySpace tells you what year that was.
Yeah, that's how long ago we're going. We released it on MySpace.
Okay. Legion and the Thieves was a little-known Dearest Azazel song, and but it definitely fit the black metal vibe that we were going for, John and I. Sort of the real world implications as far as when you get down to the truth of things. A lot of times it's kind of a pretty dark scenario.
Yeah,
and that's where we were then. And then flash forward, years later when Dearest Azazel's broken up and John has left the band that he was in, and we find ourselves in Florida, like 3 or 4 years later, in 2010, in October, and then John's free, I'm free. I always liked black metal, but it was kind of atonal, non-melodic, and it wasn't something for every mood. But then we got the idea to try and do a black metal band, and so I thought I would put sort of my melodic sensibility with the black metal thing, and we slowly started. John and I, we started writing our own songs. We did some programmed drums. We got this local dude to help us try and get some songs going. Got a friend of John's that became a friend of mine as well, named Mike, playing guitar. And we were thinking about bass players. We almost had the full lineup. It was coming together. And then I got arrested and charged relating to a fatal car crash, and I was gone for a long time, and eventually I got sentenced to 15 years prison and lose my appeal. And then I eventually win a post-conviction motion, and I get out and I'm on bond. I get remanded for a new trial, and that lasted about a year. And during that year, it was quite the year. John and I recorded the little Bedlam EP. Most of the songs were like things that I had like played on like the floor of the prison chapel during the sermon. I'm sitting there going
like, you had a guitar in there, or
yeah. There was a church band in there in the Florida Department of Corrections, and I was I could play any instrument, so there I am. I'm playing the guitar, and I got a little Strat copy, and I'm sitting there plucking away, trying to hear what the chord sounds, and I'm like, this would be so cool. And then I get out, and we gave it a go. In the interim, while I was away, some bands that came out that ended up sort of sounding like, I guess, kind of what we had envisioned, like the black gaze thing that was big for a while. Like that was kind of what we had sort of aimed for, sort of melodic, droney, dark, feeling kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
And so we missed our opportunity to precede the wave. And but we wrote and recorded the Bedlam EP while I was on bonds. And then my case was involved with like more prison time, so I had to go away to prison again for more years.
That sucks.
And,
Was it that long? Yeah, I guess what? Yeah, gosh, I guess it was. Like,
it was years. It was
yeah.
And I was at like a violent, terrible one the second time. But yeah, then I got out last year, May 22nd, 2019. And the whole time I was in, the whole time I was out for that little year on bond, I was working and just saving my money. So when I finally got out, I bought all this recording equipment that I had sort of saved up on. And I was like, okay, I want to learn this. And we're going to, John, we're going to pursue this in earnest now. We're going to get it done. We're going to have actual drums. We won't be like under the gun. Like Bedlam's production was kind of rushed because like I'm coming fresh out of Dune, PTSD ridden, kind of monster, and I'm having to sort of relearn the system on an old computer, all while under the shadow. And we got of like the impending case. It's coming. Better do it. Otherwise, you're going to go away, and it's going to.
Like a time limit.
Yeah. I mean, I had one day to get my the vocals for all 5 songs on that done. It was 4 originals, and on that first one we had a cover of a Rainbow song called "Man on the Silver Mountain," and I had literally I got to Fort Walton, and we started working later that afternoon. We eventually stopped sometime that night, watched the movie Deathgasm on Netflix, and then we got up the next morning and went right back at recording. Like it was basically like with the few breaks here and there, it was almost like 16 straight hours of screaming on my end. And
wow,
yeah, the last song I recorded for that one was the Rainbow cover. And I can't help but to notice that a lot of other people say, but I can't help but to notice, like, I could hear in my voice just the pain. Like, it was painful to get through that, but we did. And I remember we celebrated we went to TGIF's and ate lunch and watched the Saints and Chargers game. And yeah, like that was the end of and it came out, I don't know, like a month or 2 after that.
John, to his credit, the whole day, if he was going through pain, like you would not have known it. He was sitting there laughing, talking, and then he goes to scream. We go to eat lunch the next day, and he's like, he's doing death metal screams with the Saints and shit, and pounding whiskey, and he's like, and he's still laughing and talking when he leaves. Like he would not have known it. He was a trooper.
Well, that was also the year the Saints kind of sucked, and I think that was like the first game they won, so I was in a good mood. But I mean, it's funny. There's some video out on YouTube that we made of like the making of that first record, and I mean, Peter's giving me this nice compliment of like just being in the good mood that I try to always be in. But there's a scene in that making of where like I screamed some, like I was getting to the point where I was really getting tired of doing this for 16 hours. Like I was ready to be done with it, and I screamed some wrong lyric, and like you see me like rip that vocals off and like start screaming, like or yelling obscenities. I was like, God fucking. Like,
so what is more brutal, your musical scream or your angry scream?
Yeah, the musical.
So you're like, oh, and then you're like, damn it, I can't say.
Yeah, like I mean, I'd say the musical one. I've been doing it for a long time, like when, and I've consistently kept up with it for since I learned how to do it. I haven't had too many breaks from music. Like I mean, when Peter was gone, I was in a band called Rainey's Revenge for almost the entirety of that time, and. We did pretty well in Pensacola. We actually made relatively decent headlines for all the wrong reasons. Like shortly before we started working on the first Legion of the Thieves record. But yeah, like I mean, I mean, I was with them for a while. I was in this black metal band last year for about 10 months called Finisternis. So, like, I've like constantly kept up with it. So I mean, I like to think I've got a pretty brutal scream, you know.
You know,
Well, I like to think.
I do have to say that your screams, is that what we call them? Screaming? Is that
Yeah,
the technical term, or what do they call it? A fry? Is it a fry voice? Like the musical term? Fry, like a vocal fry? Or am I just losing my mind over
I've
here?
always just heard it do heavy vocals or something.
But they at first the first part of the album, you're screaming. It's the like the double bass. I don't know what genre that is, but then as you go, your screams diversify into, and it sounds like multiple people. Like, so you've got a bunch of or what? Am I missing something? Is it different people?
No, no,
Oh,
no. I was pointing at him. That's the compliment.
yeah. It's
That-
like,
Yeah.
you had the high
yeah,
one, the high pitch. You had like some of it sounded like I would say Spencer from Under Oath, kind of his older
Yeah.
stuff from the
I
first
could see
album he
that.
was on. And
Yeah, I
some
could
of
see
it
that.
was just like like the regular like black metal type screaming. It was all over the place. I was like, damn, variety.
Yeah,
Most people got one. They got one,
Yeah.
a low and a higher pitch, and that's it. So
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, it seems like every interview I ever do, nobody ever does. Like, ever since I started screaming, like that was like kind of my one thing is, I think what makes, especially if you're like, I know we're not like a death metal band or a black metal band or anything like that, but I think one of the things that makes bands like that sound awesome is a vocalist that can do more than like one or two things.
Mhm.
Like and so that was always kind of in the back of my head. Is as I was always wanting to learn how to do more and get better. I mean, even on this record, the Through Painted Skies EP, there was things I did on that, like on the Iced Earth cover of the album, that I had never done before. That I didn't even know I could do. It was I was like, we call it sing screaming, where I was like
Yeah.
screaming and like singing rhythm or whatever, like, and like I'd never done that before. So like, I'm always trying to learn new things, and layering and stuff like that, and on records, that's actually something I learned from Peter way on the very first Legion album back in 2008 that we recorded in Atlanta. That was kind of like I sort of learned how to do all that layering from him. I've carried that on probably every single band I've ever been in. Like,
yeah.
me and Peter call it behemothing.
Yeah, it's a good for. Yeah,
Just
like,
keep do it again. We're gonna have like 17 tracks. Pan them
yeah,
out.
it's a complicated sandwich of a scream. Like at the low, you got the Cookie Monster, and you got like say, Gollum or Cobra Commander,
Yeah.
and then like you got to cover a wide range of stuff. And John can do them all.
Yeah.
I try to.
Well, see, that's the thing is what at first there's always maybe I'm gonna say this at some point in someone's life they hear screaming music and they're like, I don't like that, and then something kind of catches their attention, I guess. For me, it was the song "What It Is to Burn" by Finch. That's when I realized, like, oh, this is something musical and not just some guy making noise because he can't sing. And being able to me, screaming, you've got singing, which is like I'm telling you my emotions, but like screaming is like the most passionate of emotions that you can portray in a song. They're, relatively to me, that's what they sound. So if you just get up there and you're screaming because you like the bands you like do it too, and you want to emulate them or something like, but somebody that really has a
Passion for it.
yeah, like a reason to do it, a feeling to do it, you can fucking tell that they mean it, and that's when you can feel the music and you get like a sense of.
It's funny that you were able to sit there and pinpoint like the moment that you got into it. I think anybody that listens to heavy music that involves screaming can sort of pinpoint that moment when they get it. Like I remember when I was in middle school, for whatever, I can't remember what exactly inspired me to do it, but my dad used to always take me to the CD store, and I saw the first Slipknot album in there. It was the only one they had out at that time. And I remember just looking at them like, I've got to buy this, just off of the principle of what they looked like.
Yeah.
And I came home, and I remember that, that I don't know if you've heard that album, you know, that real fucked up like intro, the way the album starts, and then it kicks in with that, and you're da 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 da. I'm like, holy shit! I remember thinking it was like an instant like.
I just figured something out.
I immediately had my attention, and like ever since that moment, I went on what I like to call my my heavy metal snowball. Like it was like I couldn't get enough of it. Like after I heard Slipknot, I was like, what else is out there like that? And and then I'm hearing Sepultura and Pantera and Slayer, and then before you know it, by the time I'm in high school, I'm knee deep in Morbid Angel and Cradle of Filth, and then I meet this guy, and he starts turning me on to like. Mayhem and Emperor and all this other crazy fucked up shit. So like, it was just the weirdest thing. I went from, listening to like, classic rock and, like mainstream stuff to, like a few years later, I'm like, listening to Norwegian black metal and reading, books about, them burning churches and all this crazy shit. Like,
I'm telling you, it's like when you find that, like me, I'm listening to like Blink-182 and, Sum 41 and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden Finch comes out. It kind of turned into like bands like Brand New, Taking Back Sunday was like Blink-182, then Brand New, Taking Back Sunday. And Finch was kind of in that area, right? Yeah. And then he starts screaming at the end of that song. And I'm like, oh, this is the part of the song where he's the most passionate about what he's singing. That's why he's screaming. And I was like, I get it. I feel the emotion there. And then I heard A Boy Bruised Red, Living in Black and White by Under Oath. And I was like, okay, all right. And then that turned in, I think you went into like that style of screaming music, and the music that I went into was more of like Norma Jean. I guess that's kind of the same, but it was more of the hardcore screamer instead of metal.
Well, I mean, hardcore played a big part in me developing as a vocalist and stuff. Because, like I said, at first it was just all death metal, black metal, like, harder the better. And then when I was in high school, Peter played in a band called Ignacia, and that's how I met him. Like, this friend of mine kept dragging me to all these punk shows, and I kept getting irritated because I thought they sucked. And then finally one day, she takes me to see Ignacia, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, these guys are badass. And so I started watching them more often, and they started playing with a lot of hardcore bands. And some of it, at first, a lot of it I didn't like. But then I started seeing a different side of it, like the more metal influence kind of like, there's this band from Mobile, Alabama called the Judas Cradle that I loved. Like, they were just so badass. And you said Spencer from Under Oath. He used to be in a band back then called This Runs Through, and they used to play in Pensacola all the time. So I used to watch them a lot. And then, Under Oath before, Peter, I think I remember seeing you guys play with Under Oath when they had their original vocalist. You remember that?
Yeah, they played with them a couple of times back when they were a little more metal then.
Yeah, they started off as more metal before they and
then
they went like
bands like Norma Jean and
pop hardcore.
Yeah. Like bands like Norma Jean and stuff like that. Like, to me, it was like a whole new take on heavier music, and I just loved it. And the first several bands I were in were more stuff like that. I was in this band when I was in high school called Dead Before Sunrise, which was basically like a bad ripoff of like As I Lay Dying and Darkest Hour. Yeah. And then and then after that, and then later on, I was in that band I was telling you about, Bear and His Daughter, which like kind of more of like a Norma Jean Under Oath thing, and that was sort of me and Peter's relation. Me and Peter already had a really good relationship back then, but that's when it really got going. By that point in time, he was back living in Gulf Breeze, which is real close to Pensacola, and me and my band, Bear and His Daughter, we recorded our first CD with Peter at the helm. I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was like the first time you produced another band.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and then we went on, and our two bands went on tour together for a week, which was a lot of fun. We were all in the same van, so that kind of sucked. But
God, what was it? Just like a regular Econoline or
this big 17 passenger
It was like the Ford, or no, the Dodge 3500 Maxi van. You know, like,
with how many people in there?
And all of them in there, man. And like, it was, it was low. Low.
Yeah, it was a rough week, but I mean, hey man, we made it through it, you know.
That last day, I bet on the way home, I bet it was rough.
Dothan, Alabama, I remember it fondly. In fact, on this little collection of pictures I have right here, there's a picture from that tour, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't know how good it's gonna look on this, but yeah, there we are right there. There's Peter right there in the front. There's me in the camo shorts over there.
That's me with long hair and a Burzum shirt on. That was like stolen from this like 6 foot tall girl who had like cut it down right there.
Yeah, that was literally like right before we all went home from tour. So good times, man. It really was. Like I said, man, we made it through, and you know, here we are now with me and him working together again, and got this album that we're really proud of, incredibly proud of.
Yeah, it's awesome. And where is it? I listened to it on
it's
on Apple, but
oh gotcha.
We have it pretty much everywhere. We have it on Bandcamp, and we're also on all the streaming services like Spotify, Deezer, Apple, Amazon, YouTube.
All that.
All the usuals.
Yeah.
The usual suspects. Yeah. It's available on all those. You know, it'd be great if you bought it on iTunes, but we're not worried about it. We're just worried about people hearing it. You know, I can't believe those words were coming out of my mouth. You know, but like, but I mean, really, like, we worked so hard and long on this record that it'd just be a crime if it didn't get, you know, the attention that we wanted to have. I mean, just, you know, writing it was one thing, but recording it was the most unique recording experience I've ever had in my life. Like,
so y'all did it.
It was
separate.
3 separate studios.
Wow.
I gave John my old computer and my old Apogee Duet interface, and so he could do his own recording. Like, we paid this guy to record the drums, and then he'd send me the files, and I gave him a 5150 amplifier that I had, and I was like, purpose in this is answer John's questions and show him how to do what he needs to do for his vocals. You know, if he has any questions, so John could be self-sufficient on his own, recording his own vocals, you know, and possibly doing whatever else he wants to do in the future. So, you know, John had his own Mac and GarageBand and a good, decent interface, and he was able to record his own scream. So we just sort of file traded.
Yeah, like it started with you know, my buddy Mike Turpin. Like I said, him and I know each other very well from him and I being in Rainey's Revenge together for 7 years, and he played drums on the record. And the funny thing is me, him, and Peter have only been in the same room together once. It was when we recorded the single for "It Keeps On Giving," and then Mike got it with Jose, the guy that recorded the drums for the album. He plays guitar in a band called Vagrant. Mike got together with him to record the rest of the drums for the album, literally like with nobody else there but just the two of them. Like, I wasn't there, Peter wasn't there. We just gave him the songs that with the program drums, and he just learned it and recorded it. And he played his ass off on it too. I was really, really stoked on the way it came out on his end. And then, yeah, I mean, Peter kind of started putting the skeletons together on his end with the guitars. And the original idea was that I was gonna, like, the stuff he gave me. My original idea was that I was just gonna use it to come up with ideas that I could track and stuff like that. And I was gonna go down to Fort Lauderdale. I was gonna fly down to Fort Lauderdale in April to record my vocals with Peter at the helm there. And like, literally like a week before I was supposed to leave, COVID-19 just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And yeah, before you knew it, both jobs I worked at the time had closed down, and it became blatantly obvious that it became blatantly obvious that this wasn't going to be able to work. That I wasn't going to be able to fly down there, and we ended up, and I ended up just saying to hell with it and recorded all of my vocals here. You know, I didn't actually think I was going to be able to do that like for the actual album. But lo and behold, I just said to hell with it and, you know, plugged everything up and just did a bunch of trial and error runs for a few days until I kind of got everything figured out with a little bit of help from Jose, and then just did it. You know, it was actually really nice too because I was able to be more critical of myself. You know, I'd sit there and I'd do a bunch of tracks and listen to it a few times and, you know, say, oh, this sucks, I need to redo this. I'd do it, and then I'd send it to him, and then he'd be like, he's like, no, that also sucks, do it again. And like, then I'd go back and so like, it was a lot of trial and error on my end, but like, I think I came out a little bit of a better vocalist because of it. And it was just fun, man. Like after a while, I was just like thoroughly enjoying doing it. And, you know, I mean, I'm hoping to come in handy, you know, down the line with you know, other things I do, like another Legion record. You know, I guess we'll see. But yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, it was recorded in 3 different studios.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy that 15 years ago, like that would have been like, you've got to be like in a big studio to make all that work. You know, like now you can just be like I've done that with one of my friends he makes hip hop beats and raps, but he does it on his phone. And then he sends it to me from GarageBand. He does everything on his phone, you know, the mic on his headphones. And then he sends it to me and I put it in Logic and I can mix it and add guitars and stuff to it and stuff like that. And this little free program that comes with your phone, it's ridiculous the way that technology is now. Like, there's no excuse not to be putting out albums anymore.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Like, make music. It's there. I mean, it kind of now everybody can do it, and it's not like it's not as scary.
It's unfortunately opened the door for a lot of polished turds out there, but for lack of better word, it's like.
Technically, you can sit down now with a mouse and keyboard and make a full album. I mean, did you see the Easy Bass that just came out?
No.
It's like Easy Drums, but it's a bass guitar, and it sounds like a fucking bass guitar. Like you.
Oh yeah.
You can like play the drums and then say what chords it is. And be like, do you want it to slap? Do you want to play ghost notes? Whatever you want to do. And it does it. And it plays it like a bass. Sounds like a real bass.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Next is guitar and then vocals. And then it's just somebody sitting there typing in the words.
I don't know, man. I think they're going to have a rough time with the guitar because there's so much like tone color that comes with the guitar. Like, it's always going to be. You'll always be able to differentiate, you know, drums. You know, if you get a good program that can do like ghost notes and has like good sound, you know, you might be able to fake it. You know, like I don't think you could program like the next Mastodon album or something.
It would probably be easier to just learn to play the guitar than it would be to learn to program a MIDI thing to. Like, even if they developed it, it would be harder to learn how to work a MIDI program than it would be to actually just learn how to play the guitar and plug it in. Yeah. Nowadays, you don't even need amps, really. You just plug it in. Look, I got this. I don't know if y'all have ever seen one of these, but I just got it working the other day. I've had it forever. It's a Boss. It's a Boss GDP, and see this plug? Yeah, it's not a MIDI. I bought a Strat that's got a Roland pickup in it, so it turns all of my notes into MIDI. So anything that I have a MIDI version of, like drum set, piano, I can strum like a C chord, and it sounds like someone played a C chord on a piano or synth. But I'm playing the guitar, and it is ridiculous. I just got it working the other day.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll change your mind about things. You'll be like,
Peter, you had that weird fucking pedal back in the day. I remember you used it a bunch on uh, the Bear and His Daughter record. That was like that made the guitar. It was like I think he even used it on the first Legion record, Bedlam album.
Yep.
It like kind of it like makes the guitar sound like. I don't know what the fuck to call it, like.
Polyphonic octave generator, electroharmonics POG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were all about that thing.
Yeah. For a while, I was pretty obnoxious about that POG. I would like double the solos and like, one raw and one with the POG.
There was a didn't y'all use that in Dear Azazel? It kind of sounded like a lot of the solos and stuff, even like live especially, were used that. I guess it makes it sound bigger, cooler.
Yeah, it just changes it,
Yeah.
Makes things a little different. I've never done the MIDI guitar thing, but like that would be kind of fun.
It is. It is ridiculous.
A little more.
I had like a pan flute type thing, and dude, one of them was like these. It's African singers. It's in Logic under World or something. It's these African singers. And they're like, ooh, but I was playing like a guitar instead of keyboard. It was neat. So
that would be fun.
Yeah, if you ever run across one, I found it used and thought it'd be neat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's funny to hear all these different evolutions, I guess you could say, in meeting Peter's musical history, whether it's us working together or other bands. It's all lit up to this record now. Like the one thing I loved about this through Painted Skies record is I feel like we both played to each other's strengths a lot on this record. Like, we didn't set out to make something that sounded like Dearest Azazel or Rainey's Revenge or whatever. But there's skeletons and Easter eggs of it that are in there, like, I mean, there's definitely some Dearest Azazel vibes going on there, but there's a lot of, fast running, hard hitting metal kind of stuff that a lot of people are used to hearing me do. And, like it's an incredibly diverse record, like.
Yes, it is.
That's probably my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. Subject matter wise, like, I feel like we put forward like a couple brave themes. Like, we did sort of like an unabashed, like, kind of slow song, soft song, When You Don't See Me, and that was about, like from a mother's perspective or a parent's perspective, wanting their child to be okay when they move along to the hereafter, and that's not something people talk about, let alone like a metal-oriented band think about. And, I know John's mom and love her, and John knows my mom as well. And, I thought it was
very good.
I thought it was a good subject. We had another song, Black Dogs, that was, about sort of a PTSD and like an enduring mental illness kind of thing, like. And it kind of took the perspective of like, this is not, like, your condition is not chronic. This, you can heal.
Mm-hmm.
And, we, at all points, we kept things honest. Like John wrote about some things that he was going through. John went through some, serious trials and travails in the last year.
And like the songs. Well, first, I wanted to back up a little bit with You Don't See Me. Peter just kind of explained about what that song meant to him and writing it. It took on, for me, after it was already written and recorded, it took on a different form for me. Because right around the time that we were ready to start recording this record, me and my girlfriend of a very long time, who I, moved into a house with, we have a 5-year-old son together, we had split up, and for the first time in my life, like I was, spending, a week or whatever without my kid, or whatever, and it was really weird. Like, and then, other people were coming into his life and stuff like that, and the lyrics of that song sort of translated to that situation where, like, I remember telling him, you know, a couple times that, you know, while I'm not there, I want you to be good, you know, like, you know, be okay or whatever. So it, you know, so it was odd how that happened. You know, I mean, Peter wrote it from a, you know, mildly different perspective, but it took on a whole new form that matter, or that means almost, you know, that totally works. But and then yeah, you know, Black Dogs was, you know, the song about, you know, anxiety and depression and stuff like that, which you know, even though Peter wrote a majority of the lyrics to that, it was easily relatable for. I think it's easily relatable for anybody. You know, I mean, anybody that says they've never been depressed before in their life is probably lying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all been there. We play metal music. We've definitely been depressed before. You know, like, but then there's some other songs on the album that I wrote pretty much all the lyrics for. Keeps on Giving and The Last Stand were the two that I pretty much wrote the bulk of. A lot of those songs were about sort of kind of you know, my history of you know, dealing with substance abuse and stuff like that. I've, you know, for a long time I've been a big drinker, and even when I was younger, I was, you know, went through spurts of where I did drugs a lot and stuff like that, and admittedly, these are things that I'm not still fully like cleared of. You know, I just admitted on this podcast earlier today that I was drinking and watching hockey yesterday. You know, it's something I try to live with and maintain, especially now that I've, you know, whenever I became a parent 5 years ago, the way I look at everything is different now, you know, like everything from, you know, leaving my house to, you know, to anything, you know, like, like he's always in the back of my head, you know, like, so, I mean, but I mean, it has caused me problems over the years, and Keeps on Giving was kind of the song about that. There's a lyric in that song where it says, I've grown sick of waiting, but this curse keeps on giving. And it's sort of kind of like, I think it was mentally about me, like being like, man, I'm so tired, you know, I'm so ready to be, you know, to never feel like this again, but I just love the way this makes me feel, kind of thing, you know. And you know, The Last Stand is kind of a continuation of that, but sort of kind of was like a, you know, you know, drawing a line in the sand and putting your foot down, saying, you know, I'm not going to let this bullshit, you know, fuck my life up and, you know, and ruin, you know, and, you know, rule me forever. You know, I refuse to be that way. And I mean, that's really what those songs are about. And then there's another song on there called Seasons in the Sun, which technically we both wrote lyrics for on that one. Well, Peter wrote the chorus, and that just sort of directed the song and in the direction that I think he was looking for. And I wrote the rest of the words, and I guess I remember it was, yeah, this is a really unmetal thing to talk about in a song, but it sort of had a lot to do with, you know, keeping your eyes open for that next chapter in your life of, you know, like romance and whatnot. You know, I mean, that's something you'd probably hear more from like a Taking Back Sunday thing, like, you know, something like us. But at that time, I was actually talking to somebody myself, so I was like kind of mentally, I guess, like kind of okay with tackling that subject. And that's really what that song's about. You know, I mean, you know, the search for love, this, you know, like keeping your eyes open and whatnot. I mean,
that can be metal. You can make
it can be, yeah.
That can be metal.
It definitely can be. I'm sure Cradle of Filth probably has some like song about something like that, but they just use a lot bigger words than we do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Speaking of which, did you see that Cradle of Filth has their own line of hot teas out? Yeah, like I saw that. I read it.
Like drink teas, or like
like English teas, like dude, like no, like drinking tea, like freaking. When we're done with this interview, look this up, man. Like I read about it yesterday or the day before. They like had this like line of tea, and they're all like had these like satanic themed names, like Devil's Blood and all this shit. Like,
the bubonic plague.
Yeah, they've got like 10 of them, dude. It's the most genius thing ever. I'm like kind of pissed that we didn't come up with that, but. Yeah,
Teas.
Filth and I mean, that's like the most British thing a British metal band can do is to market hot tea. You know, like
they have little biscuits that they sell with it as well. And tea.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go great with the full English.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of that, like hyper macho chest beating bullshit is just exactly that. It's fake. I can picture one of the guys in Dark Throne, crying on the phone to Baby Mom, like, can't we just get this right?
And Nerdgall from
I'm sure it's happening.
Behemoth for a long time was like in a serious relationship with some Polish pop star. So he's human somewhere underneath all that Lord of the Rings makeup and all that.
That's funny. They're like, they get off stage and he's like, "Hey, Mom, just calling."
Right.
Just let me know I'm okay.
We had a really good show, and I just wanted to say I love you. And I'm like, "Are you taking your medicine?"
Mom, please let me go hang out with my friends. Cradle film.
Yeah, those are the subject matters of the record, and then the one thing that me and Peter have always been pretty down with doing is cover songs. Like I'd be willing to bet there'll probably be one on every release we make because we're fans, that's why we do this. We're not, I don't pretend to be anything more than that. I got into wanting to be a vocalist and all this shit because I love music. I love, I listen to it all the time when I'm in the car, when I'm at home. I'm always thinking about it, and so it's always fun to, after you work really hard on all these songs, you're gonna have some fun. Take a song you really like and put your own twist on it.
Yeah.
And like I said, on the first record, the Bedlam record, we covered "Man on the Silver Mountain" by Rainbow, and then on this one, "Through Painted Skies," we did "Burning Times" by Iced Earth.
Bobby, have you heard "Burning Times" by Iced Earth?
I have not.
It's you ought, just for kicks, when you get done doing this, listen to the original, and then listen to the artist.
"Burning Times" by Iced. Is it called that?
Yeah, the band's called Iced Earth. And the song's called "Burning Times."
Burning.
They're like Iced Earth is kind of like a sort of kind of like something like Iron Maiden, but a little bit more maybe a little bit heavier, a little faster at times. But they're in that kind of ballpark, and I don't know how that song came. I think me and Peter had kicked around the idea of about 4 or 5 different songs, if not more, and somewhere in the midst of it, that one came up, "Burning Times," and it just stuck. I just remember we started kicking around ideas for it, and we just went with it, and I mean, I thought it came out great, it's definitely a lot different than the Iced Earth version of it, but I think it sounds badass, that's the song where I did the little sing scream thing that I learned how to do, and my friend BG Watson the other day, who was a guitar player in a band called Finsternus I was in for about 10 months. He went out of his way to specifically tell me how well he liked, how well that song came out. He's usually kind of a man of very few words. He kind of went out of his way to be like, "Yeah, man, that really came out well." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." What about the rest of the album? But sorry. Of course, nobody calls me all day, and then the one time I'm fucking doing something on my phone, and everybody wants to fucking call me.
I learned that the first few shows I did. I have put all my devices on Do Not Disturb now because I would get messages out of just ding 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 the whole time.
Yeah.
But look, talking about that screaming, singing stuff. There's a band called Blindside. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of them.
Yep, heard of Blindside.
Yeah. Their front man. He does it in a few songs, but the song "About a Burning Fire," it was off the album "About a Burning Fire." At the very end, he does this thing where he's saying goodbye, but it's like goodbye. But as he sings, it turns into a scream, but it's cutting in and out. It is the most unique scream thing I've ever heard. It's ridiculous.
Didn't they have that one song way back in the day? It was like, "I'm a vampire."
I forgot about that song.
Yeah, wasn't that them?
Yes.
The light will set me on. That shit was so dope, dude.
That was off. One of those movies with that hot chick.
It might have been. I just.
I completely forgot about it. I'm glad you brought that up.
It was on some compilation DVD I had. There was a music video for it. I don't know if you remember back then at FYE and Hot Topic, like all these different record labels and stuff. They sold these like
Tooth and nail,
$6
solid
compilation
state.
DVDs of music videos because they weren't as easy to come by as they are now. And one of them that I had that blind song or blindside song that of the music video of that. And
I'm a vamp. I forgot about
shit
that.
was so dope.
That one, and then they also had Finch. Finch was, see, you're bringing all these memories back to me now. Finch had Worms of the Earth that was also on that.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Songs that I have not thought about in 15 or 20 years.
It's always fun to revisit stuff like that. I do it all the time. I mean, when I was in high school, I was a huge 18 Visions fan when I was in high school, and what was it, last year or the year before that, they put out a new album for like the first time in forever, and like it was just the heaviest shit ever, and it made me want to go back. And like I remember listening to Vanity again after it came out. I was like, God, I forgot how much I used to listen to this religiously, when I was like 16 years old.
When you had one CD and you're like, I'm going to listen to every song on here because I'll have to take it out and dig through my case, and you listen to whole albums instead of just the one song.
It's so crazy how it's not like that anymore. I mean, I love streaming music, and
I love it.
I'm totally all for it. But at the same time, there was something that I'll always kind of cherish and miss about those old days of, trading CDs with your friends, going to like when I was in high school, there was this CD store in Pensacola called Tom CDs and Records, and that place was solely responsible for a good majority of like a lot of the bands that I listen to today. Like, Peter, you remember that place? Like, they had like boxes of CDs everywhere, and me and my buddies would just go through it, and we would just buy albums because we thought the fucking album covers looked cool, Yeah. And that's how I bought As the Palaces Burned by Lamb of God. I didn't even know who they were. Like, it was just recommended by a friend of mine.
Lamb of God. This must be a religious group.
Yeah, right. Like,
was this gospel?
I just remember a friend of mine saying they were really good, and that was their most recent release at that time. And other ones too. I think I bought my first Merciful Fate album there. Stuff like that. So there was something kind of cool about that.
You would.
I kind of miss a little.
You would get a new album, and you would put it in your CD player, and you would listen to all of it. So like you'd be riding around, and it would just always be playing on loop, kind of. You turn it on, you'd be like, oh, I hadn't heard this part of this song. And then you'd listen to the whole album most of the time. Like there'd be some you skip, but then eventually one day you'd just be riding and not paying attention, and that song would be on, and then you'd be like, oh, I do like track number 2.
I feel like the whole process of putting it in and cranking it up was fun too. Like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this memory always sticks out in my head. Of one of the times I went to visit Peter up in Atlanta, we went to go see Children of Bodom with Trivium and Amon Amarth opening up for him. And, it was concert time. We're all getting ready and we leave. We're in his car. And for whatever reason, like Peter, I think it was a tape, pulls out, Don't Break the Oath by Merciful Fate tape, puts it in and cranks that bad boy. There was something about like that whole, like, Wayne's World jamming out to Bohemian Rhapsody kind of feel. That was in that moment, and it still happens with, streaming. I just bought a new 2018 Kia Soul recently. It doesn't even have a CD player in it. It just has Bluetooth. So, it's just the times they are changing.
Yeah. Earlier, you were talking about, we do covers, the metal rules of being happy when you say stuff. One thing that I don't like, that is a trait of heavy music, and I guess it's a trait of all genres, is how everybody has to make these little rules about each genre of music. And to me, the best bands that I've found were bands that were like, look, we're a death metal band, but we have a ukulele player. And you're like, that sounds stupid. And you listen to it and you're like, this is bad fucking ass. The people that break the rules, and just because you play in a death metal band, like, why can't you sing about finding a girlfriend and stuff like that? I think that's pretty cool, and I think it's bad for musicians in general. The best bands are the ones that are breaking the rules. Dearest Azazel was like that. Right? It was dance beats and metal guitars. Like, and that shit fucking worked, right? You know.
Yeah, that's part of that Dan Beats influence. Is, it crept its way into some of this new Legion of the Thieves record. It's not really anywhere to be found on the first record, but on this one it definitely is. Which I was totally fine with. But yeah, I mean, I've never really been a big rules person when it comes to. I get some bands have an image to uphold, and they like. I mean, it'd be fucking weird if Behemoth or Cannibal Corpse started songs about about
60s
about
hippie songs or something.
Got into a fight or something, But I mean, I do remember when I was in high school hearing that album Undeceived by Extol, and there was violin in it. Yeah, there was violin in it, and it was this death metal band with violin in the first two songs. I can't even remember the last. To this day, I don't. That's something you don't hear very often. And Isham from Emperor, he's got a bunch of solo records now, and he incorporates saxophone, maybe sometimes a little too much, but it's still there, And Rivers of Nile, I think they had saxophone on that new album.
Attack did that. I guess they got a lot of shit. I was out of that scene or whatever, or that area when they came out. But when they came out, when I first heard them, I was like, it was like they were doing a rap song, and then they were playing a dance song, and then they were doing low guttural scream, and then shredding guitar type lead stuff, and then they were doing
I remember when that band came out. I
was like, what the fuck?
That dude that was the original singer went on to was Austin Crowley, who went on to for Mice and Men.
And
he's not even with them anymore. But
I don't think they're playing anymore. The new guy started there too.
Nobody's playing right now, but they did a couple albums as just them without a front man. They just had in fact I saw them at they played in at Club LA with my friend's band Canehill opened up for them, and they sounded fine. I actually think they sounded better. As much as I hate to say it, they actually sound better like that. So I mean. Hopefully they're still trucking, but
yeah. The second screamer guy started Beartooth.
Yeah.
And Beartooth is sick. Some of it.
Yeah, dude. I was surprised at how big that band has gotten. They came. I didn't go see them, but they came to this venue here in Pensacola called Vinyl Music Hall.
Yeah.
It was them and in fact I think of Mice and Men was on that show too. I don't remember who else. It was somebody else that was fun, but from what I heard, it was packed. Sold out packed.
Beartooth got big quick, and it's just that one guy. Yeah. Just that guy. He does all the instruments: drums, guitar.
That's insane.
Bass, everything by himself in the studio. He's just him and an engineer, and he goes in for a week and makes an album.
Okay, man, good for him. On that note, gentlemen, I hear a crying child in my living room. It sounds like I've got not crying, but ready for bed.
Ready for bed.
So it sounds like I'm gonna have to. I have to turn this, call this meeting adjourned, but just wanted to say thanks, man, for showing interest in our album, and it was awesome talking to you, and to anybody that's out there watching that's never heard us, please go listen to it. We'd really appreciate it.
I'd play a song on here, but the way Facebook works, where I stream these, it mutes it and gives me this all kinds of crazy stuff because it's already online streaming, but I will put a link or something.
Just the Spotify link.
Spotify. Legion and the Thieves.
Legion and the Thieves.
All major streaming platforms.
Yeah, that's us. Bobby, thank you for having us on here.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on.
Wish you all the best in everything you're doing. And,
thanks, man.
Anyone watching, thank you for your interest. Even though.
Awesome, guys. Y'all take it easy.
Man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, cool.
All right.
See you guys.
Deuces.
Deuces.